We've reached a big milestone here. Welcome to the 1986 holiday season. Those last 6 weeks of the year when everyone is desperately trying to get their games on shelves so that they'll be ready for the New Year's sales. And right now we're at the very tippy top of the Famicom boom, which means a lot of what gets rushed out onto store shelves in the next few weeks is absolutely dreadful. I could build a pretty respectable bottom 10 Famicom games of all time list just from the games released between November 21st and December 31st. There's a few bright spots, but we're going to be seeing a lot of garbage over the next few weeks. Which brings me to Aigiina no Yogen. 3 games were released on November 21st, and when multiple games are released on a single day, I like to arrange the episodes for them in a way that makes me comfortable. Not putting a lot of similar games next to each other, or putting an easy video on a day when I know I'll be busy. And in this case, I thought, I'm going to be playing so much bad stuff, let me put the game I like up front. And then I played Aigiina no Yogen. It's still the best of the 3 games, but I've reevaluated my position of kinda liking it. The title means Aighina's prophecy. Aighina was an ancient king who foresaw the coming of a dark comet. He helped everyone on Earth gather together their mental energy to destroy it, but he foresaw the comet's return. The Aura Star is the concentrated mental energy of everyone, and he broke it into 5 pieces so it couldn't be misused. Now, a young archaeologist named Jason has discovered the prophecy, and the time of the comet's return is near. So he sets out to recreate the Aura Star. There's a long introduction for this game, and I think that's more kanji than we've seen in a Famicom game to date. In the game, this means that you have to explore 5 ruins and hunt for clues that will let you access the other ruins and get the pieces of the star. The dungeons consist of a series of chambers with multiple platforms in each one. Monsters emerge from a house, Pac-Man style, and Jason has to kill a certain number of them to open the passageway to the next chamber. The way you defeat enemies is you bop a thin brick from underneath, and that makes this, I guess it's a device, pop up. Then you stand on that device, and when you jump at that location, it shoots out a pair of horizontal bullets. The bullets don't have much range, but they do pierce any enemies that they hit. After a trap tile has been used once, you can't use it again. On some stages, that does mean you have a limited number of shots to take out all the enemies. There is a way that you can replenish the traps, though. A lot of stages have a passage that you can go through, and it takes you to someone who lives in the dungeon. The conversation menu always has talk, leave, yes, and no. And you can talk about items that you've collected in order to get hints. Technically, you don't need to use any of them. If you use a guide, you never have to go into those doors. But if you do go in and leave, then the level is refreshed. There are additional items that you can collect. Some of them may be hidden in certain spots, while others could be locked up in treasure chests. You have to get a key that will be dropped by enemies in order to open a treasure chest. When there's an item you want to pick up, you have to press down and A in order to get it. That's actually a problem because items will appear in mid-air, and it doesn't always register when you hit down and A while you're jumping over them. Some special items you hold on to until you use them. Things like this orb which kills everything on the screen, or this skull which gives you a field that stuns enemies. You can only have one type of special item at a time though, and you activate it by pressing A and B at the same time. That's especially weird because the B button isn't used for anything in this game. They've assigned multiple functions to the A button, but that combination button press is the only time you use B. I have one more thing about the controls to mention. You get a slightly higher jump by pressing up and hitting A. It's not enough to get you up another tier of platforms, though. A handful of the chambers are these puzzle rooms, where there aren't proper enemies, just these barricades. And you have to figure out how you can destroy them to get to the other side. These rooms also tend to have important items in them, so keep an eye out. If you lose all your lives and continue, then you start at the beginning of the dungeon, but any passageway that you've opened remains open, so you can just walk straight to the exits to quickly get back to where you were. This is a 1986 Famicom game, so everything is hidden. And in this case, you reveal things by doing the most obscure, weird stuff. Like bump your head into this brick a few times to make a secret exit appear. Or ram yourself face first into this tree while pressing A to make the passage appear. It's not as bad as it could be since the hints exist, but hiding these paths feels very disconnected from the gameplay. You find the person who gives you the answer, and then you do the weird action. The enemy pathing in Aigiina no Yabo is a real problem. The way it's programmed, they tend to trend downward, falling off edges all the time. Enemies rarely go up, and the result of that is you pretty much have to play in the bottom third of the screen. There's also going to be a lot of times where you're just sitting around waiting for enemies to approach your trap. On some levels, the game punishes this by shooting a stream of lightning if you sit still too long. It's not too hard to dodge it, though, and sometimes you don't have anything you can do except wait. If the enemies were a little bit more aggressive, or if there was a wider variety of pathing AIs, this might have worked out better. And there's one other big complaint. The jumping is pretty awful. If you don't come down on a platform just right, there's a good chance you'll pass through it. On later levels where the platforming becomes more involved, it makes things more frustrating. I kind of like the arcade-style action in Aigiina no Yabo. If the game was just a series of stages where you had to lure enemies into these traps, and if the enemies were improved a little bit, then it would be pretty cool. But the adventure portions of this game just don't work, and the end result is mediocre.